Start winning at the races with Daily Racing Form's new mobile pass performances, featuring exclusive buyer speed figures and expert analysis and selections. Go to drf.com/best and get the power of DRF in the palm of your hand. Dan Illman, Mike Beer, race number 7 at Belmont Park on Saturday is the Grade 3 Vagrancy Handicap for fillies and mares going 6.5 furlongs. Let's take a look at this field. It's a quality group of filly and mare sprinters in here, led by the number 5, Come Dancing, who had a sensational campaign last year, Mike, as a 5-year-old. She won 4 of 6 starts. She won the Grade 1 Ballerina. She earned a 114 buyer speed figure in the Grade 3 Distaff Handicap. And if she can find that form, she is way the horse to beat in this year's edition of the Vagrancy. The issue is her last 2 starts haven't been that great.
Yeah, I mean, that is true. I personally don't care about her last race where they went 2 turns in the apple blossom and chased a fast pace. But I guess her connections had to be pretty disappointed that she actually, just failed to fire at the Breeders' Cup at 2-1.
And again, a lot of horses just didn't fire over that racetrack. It seemed a bit deep and tiring. After that race, the original plans called to retire Come Dancing. They decided to bring her back. It was an odd spot, to be sure, in the apple blossom running her 2 turns. That's not her game, and she just fits very well from a class standpoint in this race. From a pace standpoint, let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector for this year's Vagrancy Handicap. The 4 Jakarta does have good early speed, and I agree with Timeform US. I think she's going to be part of the pace. Victim of Love has a little speed, Royal Charlotte, but I think Come Dancing's going to be up close in here. You see the blue bar scenario. It's a race that Timeform US believes favors horses that will be on or near the early lead.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like a lot of horses are going to be up close in here. I do agree that Jakarta will make the front, Dan. After that, they're going to have to try to sort themselves out because it feels like trips could be very important in here.
Royal Charlotte, graded stakes winner at Saratoga as a 3-year-old last year, made her seasonal debut in the Harmony Lodge. Now, she caught a muddy track, and we're going to turn into the stretch. She's splitting horses in the 2-path, turning into the lane. I wonder if they did it again. Javier would try to get outside this early leader and maybe get to the outside. Instead, she's stuck down on the rail. She tries hard. She finishes a good second, and it's a race that she could build off of.
Yeah, I think she can too. I mean, in that situation there, I don't know what Javier really could have done. The Junior Alvarado, who was riding the winner, made the lead and just stayed out in the 3-path, and he never really gave Javi a chance to get to the outside, made her rally up the inside, and at the end of the day, she just couldn't catch. But all in all, I thought Royal Charlotte ran pretty well there. She could be one of the better horses of this division as the year goes on.
Although Mother didn't finish in the top 3 in her last 2 races, she has back figures that make her competitive with these horses. She is a multiple stakes winner. She made Hard Not to Love, a talented horse, run a little bit in the Santa Monica 2 starts back. The Desert Stormer, she got steadied out of the gate, kind of clipped heels against Bellafina, and I thought she ran a little bit better than the running line looks. She didn't run well last time out, but I'm giving her that muddy track excuse. I don't think she likes a wet track. I'm just a little concerned as to whether she has enough speed to stay close, even in a slow-paced scenario.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of trip she can get this time. I mean, I think there's a way to look at her and just feel like, she's a little bit dirtied up off of her last 2 races. You mentioned the trouble she had in the Desert Stormer early in that race. In the Harmony Lodge, not only is the muddy track an excuse, but she was totally unprepared for the start of that race. Got away at the back of the field and just never really got involved, ultimately finished a closer 4th. But I feel like she has excuses for both of those races, and I know that she's a lot better than that.
The number 3, Shalone, the second choice on the morning line, was second in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint in 2018. We know she has quality. She won a couple of stakes races last year as a 5-year-old. At her most recent start, she was the beaten favorite in the TCA, a race that produced Dawn the Destroyer, who went on to run 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint with a 90 buyer. Now, she missed the rest of her season with bone bruising. They were going to run her back in the aforementioned Harmony Lodge, but Arnaud de la Cour didn't want to bring her back on a wet track. I think that was a wise move. Shalone is a horse you know what you're going to get on your best day. It's a buyer in the low to mid 90s. Sometimes it's good enough, sometimes it's not. Is it good enough on Saturday?
Boy, I don't know if it's going to be. You just sort of expect her to show up and run her race every time. I'm a big fan of hers, Dan. I'm worried a little bit about the layoff coming back in what shapes out to be a really strong field. And I'm also a little bit worried about the 6.5. I really do think she's at her absolute best up to 6 furlongs.
Jakarta, the number 4, is the expected speed 20-1. And given the lack of pace in this race, that makes her somewhat interesting. There are class concerns. Her last race is a throwout in the Intercontinental, again, newspaper of record over yielding ground. She is a stakes winner, but Mike, that came in this race, the powder break, a one-turn mile that was washed off of the turf. And when it was washed off of the turf, you see Valedictorian, that's a turf horse. You see Valiance, that's a turf horse. You see WW Fitzy, that's a synthetic horse. Jakarta's got dirt form, at least at Penn National, and she had the inside in the lead this day. This was a good effort. She'll have to do better against top flight competition.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I respect that she has speed, and I respect that she's improved for Maker. Boy, this is a really tough spot for her, though. I just couldn't see her wire in this field, Dan.
Come Dancing, simply the horse to beat. She loves Belmont Park. She is a Grade 1 stakes winner, capable of putting up giant Beyer speed figures. We talked about the Apple Blossom being a throwout going 2 turns. The Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Sprint, considering the year she had, she deserves a mulligan. She's back with Carlos Martin. And if that 57 and change breeze means anything on June 15th, it at least means she's on her toes and ready to go.
Yeah, that's a pretty sharp workout leading into this. Listen, I'm just going to give her a pass for the Apple Blossom. Again, 2 turns, chasing a fast pace. I just don't feel like that was an ideal situation where I love her cutting back in here. Based off her 2019 form, she's supposed to be very, very tough. She does have to break the gate, though. We've talked about this in a lot of her prior races. She's not a great gate horse. She will sometimes break slowly. I don't think she can afford to break slowly against this field.
Victim of Love, the 6, is a nice listed runner in the Mid-Atlantic area. She was a solid second in the Grade 3 Barbara Fritchie 2 starts back. But from a Beyer speed figure standpoint, she's just light compared to some of the others. She can get up close to the pace, but there are some class concerns that she must address.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways, she's facing some fillies in here who could be at the top of this division all year long, and that just makes it a really tough spot for a horse like her.
Pacific Gale, the number 7, has not won a race since October of 2018. She's done some good things in the interim, multiple graded stakes place, second in this race last year. And maybe last time out, you could argue that rumors of her demise were greatly exaggerated because she did not run well in her 3 races prior to the Harmony Lodge, and she at least made a little bit of a run late. Do you look at that performance as Pacific Gale slowly rounding back into her best form, or an indictment on that race as a whole, and perhaps an indictment on one of the major contenders, Royal Charlotte?
No, I'll give Pacific Gale the credit she deserves for the race she ran that day. And it was a wet track, I get it, but she actually made a pretty nice run into that race. She had a look at Honey, I'm Good on the lead there at the top of the stretch, and ultimately wasn't quite good enough. But I thought she ran well, and it's not like that race came out of nowhere, Dan. She ran a series of good races early last year as well, so you know that she had a race like that in her.
Let's take a look at our top pick for the Grade 3 Vagrancy at Belmont Park on Saturday. Come Dancing, just the class of the race. Mike, if she comes back to any of her good races from last year, they're all running for second money. I know Chad is very high on Royal Charlotte. I think she's going to take a step forward off her seasonal debut.
Yeah, I went with Come Dancing in here because I like the cutback for her, and I do think her best race will get it done, Dan. I thought long and hard, though. I almost put your horse on top.
5-1-2-3 for Mike. We'll see if Royal Charlotte can step up into the next level and win the Grade 3 Vagrancy. It's race 7 at Belmont on Saturday, approximate post time, 4:32 Eastern. Good luck.